Welcome back to the Eyes of Texas. In the heart of San Antonio lies beautiful gardens, parks, a zoo, and a golf course. Within the golf course is the remnants of an old waterworks building, which is almost as interesting as the people who have occupied it over the years. Ron Stone takes us back to 1983.
George Breckenridge built this place in 1885, long before the golf course gobbled up the property around it. The city had just discovered back then that it could not make money running a waterworks in town. So it sold the system to someone who could make it profitable, George Breckenridge. Breckenridge went on to establish a place for himself in the history of this part of Texas, and so did another man who spent time in this building. He was the sculptor Gutzon Borglum, who came to Texas in the 1920s and liked San Antonio so much he moved here permanently. Borglum arrived to do a 40-foot monument dedicated to Texas trail drivers. He completed a model, but not the finished product. His benefactors never raised the money they'd promised him. The model stands today outside the Texas Trail Drivers Museum in San Antonio, and an organization known as Friends of the Park is trying to raise enough money to restore the old waterworks building. It was abandoned by Breckenridge in 1915 and left unattended until the 20s, when Borglum converted it into an artist studio. The disrepair and the years of emptiness have not been able to hide the memories. And there are some memories here that belong to the world, not just San Antonio. For inside this building, Gutzon Borglum came up with his grandest idea, the Mount Rushmore Project.
He's been accused of a lot of things. A lot of people said he was very temperamental, but I never found him to be particularly temperamental. And he was a tremendous artist. And things that I remember about him a lot were that he was, although he created a great deal of art, in fact, at the time he died, I think he had more sculptures in public places than any other living sculptor in the United States. But with all that, he was vitally interested in so many other things that I don't really know how he got it all done, because, I mean, some of these sculptures were tremendous big things. He was so much interested in politics and highways, highway beautification. He proposed the first plans for basically what has become the interstate highway system now, back in 1930. So he was just a vital American, is what he was.
Gutzon Borglum died before the Mount Rushmore Project was completed, but his son Lincoln completed it for him. It was a project that took years to finish, and it changed Lincoln from an engineering student to an artist.
I did no sculpture work until after he died, to speak of. And then I took it up, and I don't feel any hesitation about it. I think I'm probably as good a sculptor as he was. I mean, I don't feel like I'm living in his shadow.
Lincoln Borglum is a successful sculptor in his own right today, living and working in the South Texas Valley. He has fond memories of his father and what he stood for and what he achieved. Lincoln also remembers some wonderful gatherings of artists at his father's old studio in Breckenridge Park, where creative people would gather to share ideas and feed on each other's experiences. The restoration and preservation of George Breckenridge Old Waterworks Building should save not only a part of the city's history, but it would also preserve a lot of grand memories about a grand old artist who fell in love with Texas and dreamed of America's most endearing monument.
I think the spirit of a lot of the artists that have been here and worked here remains. And I think that that sense of being able to come to a place, you know, where great artists have worked, is very important. And I think very few times in your sort of life or in the life of a city do you have a chance to kind of touch or be involved in a building that has been so instrumental in a moment in history. And there's no question that Mount Rushmore is a moment in history that continues and goes on and on.
We've talked to Lincoln's daughter, Robin, and she tells us that her dad passed away in 1986 at the age of 73, and that he's buried in San Antonio, a town that both Lincoln and Goodson loved. Plans are underway for renovation of the Waterworks building that will become home to the Borglum Museum and the Texas Golf Museum. Goodson Borglum has two sculptures in Texas, the Trail Driver sculpture there in San Antonio, and a sculpture named Peggy right here in Houston at McGregor Park. Lincoln has 3 sculptures displayed in Texas altogether. Go to click2houston.com to find out where you can see them. Up next, we visit the monument that honors the Texans who gave us our freedom. And later, we'll meet a Lone Star blues man.
She got Johnny in a deep blue sea.